Hello, my name is Rayvern Pres and welcome to the Term 4 presentation day, where in this year we as students are asked to design devices that can serve as solutions to a problem. In the first term, I designed the mechanical side of my device that was supposed to help farm workers working in the heat cool down, and when they working in the cold, heat up. So in this first term, I focus how this device would attach to the body. In the second term, I focus more on the electrical side, how the device would work and change temperature. In the third term, I built and designed a device that can take compost into a liquid form known as compost tea. And now we are at the fourth term where we learn how to program with Python and design applications. So my motivation for this term was to look back in the years. In each term, we are asked to get materials that we can use for our projects, but we have no clue about the budget. So I wanted to design an application that can be easy to use in Python that can help with the acquisition process when parts are required for the development project. They can avoid time delay and adhere to budget. So the solution is NVR. Coming from the Spanish word to send, NVR takes your materials that you ordered, send it to a secondary application that would be monitored by the manager or lecturer or the one who's in charge so that he can give approval. So basically you're asking the one who's in charge, can I order this material for my project? And he will say yes or no. So my application can be used in industrial work sites, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and all type of engineers can use it when they're dealing with the project. But not just the engineering world can use it, but any company that needs products and materials for their projects. Instead of a mobile device, kiosk, sorry if I mispronounce it, I have difficulty, but kiosk, yes, is a device that serves as a computer but has its original functionality disabled. So you will see this device in fast food business and shopping centers and also shopping malls. So to make my application a reality, I needed to understand how to do web scraping, which is to collect data from the internet and bring it forward to the Python IDE. After then, I needed to know how I can communicate with the two applications. That's where I use WebSocketing so that I can create a client and two clients in one server for open communication protocol. And afterwards, I learned how I can modify my application with the Kinter, sorry. So in my application, you would start at the beginning. You will tap on the icon. It will start the web scraping where it opened the website on a separate window and also have the buttons scan and send on a separate window. So in the website known as micro robotics, you as the one who needs material for your project will search for your materials, tap on it, add it to the cart, and it will have the option to scan it first, then send it. It will then be sent to the secondary application where it will have the decision, where the one who's in charge will have the decision to approve or reject. When the items are approved, web scraping will then begin from the start and then collect your item. If your item was rejected, a message would send back to the home screen saying rejected. So my innovation for my project is if I wanted to buy this application for you, I would say this is a reliable application and can send multiple data at once. So my hand sketches weren't drawn physically by my hand, but I, in the moment, went to PowerPoint so that I can have a visual idea of how my application want to look like. Here is the home page of the primary application where you, as the one who needs materials for your project, will do all your collection and then send it off to the secondary application which would be monitored by the one who's in charge. Here is the final appearance of the primary application. You have your icon, your two buttons, send, and also a text box, which where the messages would appear. And then all the materials that you have clicked on, after clicking on the icon, it will open the website and you will collect your materials and items there, send it off to the secondary application, which will display all the text here. And there's also a text box displaying the messages, and then you will have the approve and reject button. So first, my alternative was to create an Excel spreadsheet for when the students at automation would collect the items. The product would then be collected into a spreadsheet that they can use that information as a bill of materials. But then I wanted to use this acquisition process. And also here, I made some changes in the process. So if you understand Selenium uses its own window. So I wanted originally to make the window be attached to these two buttons, but with Selenium that wouldn't be possible. So that became my final. In my product testing, I only tested to see if the secondary application can receive messages, and also in the process of seeing if it can receive messages, I also wanted to separate the product code and the product information. So here, the product information would be the amount, the price, and also the name. And there at the bottom is the code. Now the code is the main part, because if you type this link into your computer and also the code of the product, it will take you directly to the product. The tools that I've used were Selenium, is a library or a module in Python that can help with web scraping, collecting data from the internet and bringing it to your Python application, Python IDE. Then I modified with the Kinter so that it can look like an application. After that, I use socketing for the communication protocol. The skills that I've learned were to start at the basic. So the basics will lead you forward if you can only think creatively and think out of the box. From the basics, you can alter that into your own complexity. So here is my assembly sequence. So first, I did web scraping. I did web scraping first, then communication, then decorated my application. So in the process of web scraping, I went to my website. This is an example of what microrobotics look like. Right-clicked to open up a tab and clicked on inspect. This is where it will open up a window where all the HTML for the web page would be displayed. So what this is actually where all the elements of the web page is lie. So there's a part that's highlighted which say it how can I say, it is the location of this button. And with that information, I can use Selenium, which will help me interact with that. So just to show you an example of what it would look like. So after I gotten comfortable with using web scraping, I went on with how I can send the data from the website to the secondary application. That's where I created in one script of my code the server, and then use the two applications as the client so that they can talk to the server, send the message first to the server, and then direct that message to the secondary application, which is the secondary client. In my free time, I went to the Kinter so that I can make my application look like an application, and also customize the the labels that I would later on use as buttons and titles in my application. And in my free time, I search for a logo. So here is my research. This is the link where I learn about the communication protocol, and on top is a revision of how I can restructure my code so it can become more flexible. And here is my a link to how I can use the Kinter and modify my application. So they became essential to my final product, where the flexibility of my code were my final, and also the communication protocol. So this is my activity log. My activity log is where I clocked in all my time I spent, where most of my time went to theory, in minimum, in the average time went to tutorial project and design project. And the minimum time went to activity logs and PPT, because in PPT we only do PPT, which is professional development, which we only do on Mondays and Fridays. So in PPT, I've learned about SB's law, and this stood out for me. So SB's law learns you about how to simplify a situation and make it less complicated. And that helped me with my technical difficulties, where I wanted to send the code to the secondary application, but in the process also separate the profile of the product and also the code. So SB's law learned me how to find success in it. Instead of, my first idea was to create another communication protocol so that it can communicate with the secondary text box of the secondary application. So SB's law showed me how to simplify it. So this is the code of the secondary application, where it will receive all the messages, and this is the code of the primary application. So all I did to separate the code from the product information in the product code was to let the code search for item code in the primary application. So it just search for that. So if it sees this, it will then start to display the item code into a secondary text box. So the lessons that I've learned were never to celebrate too early, because in the previous year, I would get excited when my project worked, and as soon as presentation come, then my project don't want to work anymore. And I also learned patience when it comes to that. So when I say patient, it's because I saw that in the electrical world, that when you see a situation, that the situation is always hidden along with the wires, and encoding also hidden in amongst the words and syntax. So yeah, and also from the gunshot, I've learned that you have to put in all your work from the gunshot and learn how to put all the effort and use your opportunity and time. My future improvements, I will add more details and flexibility. At the moment, my application is a prototype, so we'll only collect one item at a time. And with details, I want to add you would send your material that you need to the manager or your lecturer with a message saying why you need this material. And also another detail I want to let the manager be able to access which item should be approved and which item should be rejected. So if a large amount of materials are sent to the secondary application, the one who's monitoring it should then click which one should be rejected and which one should be approved, if that makes sense. In my bills of materials, I use no physical materials because all my items that I've used were digital. Well, acknowledgement, I don't want to spend too much time, but I will firstly thank Umpainan because he was the one that opened up the gates for us, not only for me, but for the rest of the students. So thank you for giving us an opportunity so that we can develop this new skill. I will say thank you to Nick for he explain all the in detail technology and share his technical wisdom with us. And also Tani Almari, which I recognize as our first client when it comes to design projects. So we have to convince her first before we can convince the panel. So thank you for that type of support. And also JC. Now JC always said his wisdom, and each time JC would talk, he would then come up with a new intelligent word. So I saw JC like a artist, a musical artist releasing unreleased music. He always have wisdom in his back pocket. Yeah, and now my demonstration. And that's my demonstration. Thank you.